we're talking about the last two of the 7 readings in Parsha Beshalach, which is chapters 16 and 17 of Exodus. I forget the exact verse numbers, but really we're talking about Amalek. So let me turn it over to Rabbi Mendy Greenberg.
All right.
I may jump in some questions.
We discussed the Exodus before, and it's not long after the Exodus, and the Jewish people crossed the Red Sea. We spoke about that a couple of days ago. Now the Jewish people are on their way to receive the Torah on Mount Sinai. Everything seems to be perfect. Along comes a nation called Amalek, and they start a war against the Jewish people. And we fought back. We won the battle. But we're told this is no ordinary nation. This nation, we have to remember on a daily basis. Every day we speak about it. We remember them and we obliterate their name. It says their name has to be obliterated. And actually there was a commandment this week's Torah portion to Joshua, because Moses knew he's not going to be the one to go into Israel. It wouldn't be his job to do it. He's told that when the Jewish people have sovereignty over Israel, this nation has to be eradicated. It was done during the time of Saul, with the exception of one person, and that person ended up having offspring who was none other than Haman, who, of course, had it in his blood to destroy the Jewish people. But this lesson teaches us something very important that we have to remember on a daily basis. Because
Purim is 1 month from today.
Purim is a month from today. Let's get into the spirit. Purim celebrates the eradication of Amalek as well, because we know Haman and his children were hanged and defeated. And the Jewish people had the victory over Amalek in that time.
Rabbi, let me jump in with a question. It seems probably to someone who doesn't know that much about this that you may be contradicting yourself, no offense. But you're saying we want to obliterate the name of Amalek, yet we're commanded to remember Amalek. So wouldn't it be easier to just treat Amalek like some of the other ancient peoples whose names we don't remember, like the Girgashites?
The paradox of Judaism.
Yeah.
Here we go. But we have to remember, because this is a perpetual battle we have to fight. This is in every generation you have to fight this battle. Amalek represents something much different than just someone who comes and fights a battle.
Who were these people, by the way?
They happen to be descendants of Esau, who was a brother of Jacob. But there was that perpetual hatred from Esau that was passed down generation to generation.
Yet not from Ishmael the same way.
Not from Ishmael. Right. This is Esau. And they were trying to do something completely different than any other nation. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of nations that tried to eradicate the Jewish people. But this was sheer chutzpah. You're talking about right after the Jewish people got out of Egypt. We saw, the world witnessed the downfall of Egypt. Egypt was a superpower at that time. Not one person, not one slave was able to escape Egypt. And here you're talking about several million people who got out of Egypt. This was unprecedented. It was impossible. People saw God's hand. People literally saw God's presence in the world, God protecting the Jewish people. After the 10 plagues and the Egyptians pursuing the Jewish people, the miracle of the splitting of the Red Sea, it says, Namogo kol yeshvichnan, the people, all the inhabitants of Canaan, of modern-day Israel, their hearts melted. All the kings were shivering. They said, these are people that God is protecting, God is with them. How could anybody even think of lifting up a finger towards them? And along comes this nation and fights them. This is sheer chutzpah. There's a famous story that the Rebbe brings as a parable, as an analogy, about a very hot bath, that anybody to go into this bath would get scathed. Mm-hmm. So everybody's petrified to even put their foot inside. Along comes some chacham, as we call it, and jumps right in. So what happens is he skates himself completely, but as a result he cools it off. And now everybody could go in. And this is what he did. Cooled off that bath, cooled off that fear and awe, and said, this is anybody that even though he knew he's going to put himself in danger and be defeated, went ahead and did it this way, led the path for other people subsequently.
The Jews didn't seem so invincible anymore.
That's what he was trying to to demonstrate.
I think an appropriate analogy might be, given that we're a couple days after the Super Bowl, it's a bigger deal to cool off the New England Patriots than, no offense, the Florida's team, the Dolphins, the Jaguars, or the Buccaneers, because they're on top, they're riding high, and the Jews were really riding high at that point.
Correct.
It's an analogy.
It's an analogy. Also, we have to make sure that the cold doesn't penetrate us.
Meaning,
Amalek has brought coldness,
right,
brought apathy, brought indifference. It says Asher Karcha Badarech. When the Torah describes it, it says He made us cool on the way. He cooled it off. Brought it, so what this represents is figuratively. The lesson we learn from this is we're perpetually fighting Amalek because we have this state of mind of Amalek inside of us that cools us off, that tries to get rid of the passion and get rid of that sincerity.
Make us jaded.
Exactly.
Well, in the art scroll, I know we use a Chabad siddur here. That is a Chabad siddur we use, right?
Over here we use Chabad siddur.
Yeah. It's not the blue one, it's a different edition.
Edition.
In the art scroll, for example, they have the daily remembrances, and the third of the 6 is to remember Amalek. And in the notes to it, it says, Amalek came because of the Jews' inability to, I may be getting the words wrong, to study Torah with sufficient zeal. And literally, it was a message from God almost.
It was a message from God, but the message to us is at this time, the Jews were on their way to receive the Torah. Mm-hmm. They were counting the days. They were so passionate about it. And Amalek, what he represented with this battle, is telling people, don't be so passionate about it. Mm-hmm. Lose that zeal. Don't, what's the big deal? You receive the Torah. What are you going to do with it? Who do you think you are anyways to get God's Torah? We know who you are. We know what your passions really are. Why are you making believe that you really care for the Torah? That's Amalek. That's the Amalek inside of us. And the second we want to do something positive, we get a feeling all of a sudden, a jitter, and say, maybe this is not for me. Maybe this is not who I am, and I shouldn't be doing this because I'm not so spiritual.
So it's
I'm
really
not so godly.
Self-doubt. It's the self-doubt within us talking us out of pursuing our dreams.
And we have that Amalek, and we have to be cognizant of it on a daily basis. That's all we have to remember. We have to remember that whenever that feeling comes in, to obliterate it, to get it out of our midst, and only allow ourselves to have passion. That famous joke of a person who was asked, "What's worse, ignorance or indifference?" And the answer was, "I don't know and I don't care."
I want to bring up one thing. People often talk about the Amalekites of today, and if you do the math, there have been so many generations, and in that part of the world, especially, so much intermixing of peoples. Is it really off to say the Nazis were the Amalekites? That whoever, the anti-Jewish Hamas, is the Amalekites? Because the Amalekites are everywhere today. There is no Amalek. We probably have Amalekite within us.
We don't know who the actual nation of Amalek is today, but what Amalek represents, we find in every generation, and that's why you always find the saying, "Never forget." But never forgetting is not just a saying.
Mm-hmm.
It's something we have to do something about. We have to be active about it. It's not just a passive statement.
Right.
And acting about it is learning Torah with zeal, like you said, and serving God with passion, getting rid of that Amalek, saying, I may not feel like doing it right now, but this is who I really am.
Mm-hmm.
I have to obliterate that added doubt that's there, because that's not really who I am. I'm really a person of faith. We dig deep enough, we'll realize that we do have faith.
Finally, not at all related to Amalek, but tonight and tomorrow is not only Shabbos, but the holiday of Tu B'Shvat. Anything you want to say about that?
Of course, Tu B'Shvat is a holiday for trees. The Torah says that man is compared to the tree of the field. And just as a tree, we have to make sure that it's watered and it's pruned and it's protected from the elements. We have to protect ourselves with Torah. Torah is compared to water. We have to water ourselves, and we have to guard ourselves from many different influences that may temper down our passion to the Torah.
Way to relate that to Amalek. Well, Rabbi
It's
Manny
up-
Greenberg,
it's
the website is Jewish Bonita. That's the best way to get in touch with you.
Correct.
If you're in the southwestern part of Florida, not so far away, any programs you want to mention or anything? The Lunch and Learn, maybe? If anyone's in the
If
area.
you're in the area, every day, 8 o'clock, there's Minyan. There's Lunch and Learns on Wednesdays. There's Tanya on Monday
12:30.
evenings at 7:30. Of course, there's Shabbos. There's Farbrengen after the services. Services begin at 10. Farbrengen is soon after. Many other events at the campus for the students. A number of educational and social programs that I didn't list. Just look them up.
All right. Thank you.
Have a
And
good
Shabbat
Shabbos,
Shalom.
everyone. Shabbat Shalom.